Alright, this is only take 52 of episode 45. See if you can keep that all together. I'm not able to anymore. I'm at a point now where, I don't know, I mean, I already wasn't planning on making this very long of an episode, but the anger I've now experienced has significantly withered at my patience. Withered isn't even a word. And I don't know, maybe mostly I'm just annoyed at myself. That's how it normally works. This is Tim's 2 Cents podcast. Welcome back. You can always find me on Twitter at bakersdozen93. I laugh because, I mean, people do that all the time when they complain about dialogue on Twitter not being useful, and I get that. You see people post like a good point and then someone's like, wait, but let me refute it with an answer that is very obviously ignoring several glaring parts of your statement originally that were supposed to make caveats as to why I couldn't just come up with this dumb, retarded response to you and go, hey, but wait, why are you being mean to people? And it's, shut up. Just shut up. Who cares? Like, being mean is just like, that's what the world is. That's what fucking society is. We're like, you can be mean to this person now because fuck them. And you can't be mean to this person right now, but you can later because they did something that we liked or whatever. But I mean, that's kind of my point that, I mean, it's not just Twitter. Just in general, trying to talk with most people is pretty useless as far as it's not useless. And I don't want to act like I don't talk to people. I mean, I don't talk to people. What am I talking about? But, it's not bad. I have no problems with like small talk or little conversations in public. Although in one of my earlier episodes, I did kind of damn anybody to hell who talks in the middle of a coffee shop while I'm trying to do things. So still damn them to hell, but whatever. No, I mean, you need to talk to people. I went to a grocery store and then some random guy in the parking, like, it's not a nice grocery store either. They don't have bags. It's Aldi's. They make you pay for bags, and the shopping carts have quarters in them, which when that got introduced to where I grew up, it's not a bad area. It's not really that much of a dangerous area. There's like shootings every now and then, but it's mostly just poor people. Originally Aldi's was just out in a little nicer area around Pittsburgh. When it got brought into Stowe, where I grew up, McKees Rocks, like the dirtier part of that, everybody was like, why are all the carts chained together? What do we know? And then I was like 7. I went there with my mom, or probably like 12, and went there with my mom. Believe me, there wasn't much difference in my maturity between those different points. There wasn't a lot of development. So it doesn't really matter, but, they were very confused by the carts. It gave me a little bit of a chuckle. They kind of lived up to, everything I expected out of those people, but whatever. But yeah, you need to talk to people, but if you're expecting to like actually make it a point that goes against any kind of normal, like, acceptable amount of dialogue, which you should have figured out by now. There's no excuse to be, and I'll use this argument that because maybe Daniel will listen to this and just, he'll get a boner from just hearing all, now I forget what the guy's name, the stupid British fuck on the fucking YouTube Daily Show, who's just a cunt all the time, like most British people, but he's just annoying. He has ugly teeth, uglier than my teeth, so that's actually saying something. I don't even remember what his name is, but, I'll use that. It's 2018, but it's 2019. It's not hard to figure out what people are willing to talk about. You can give them about 5 minutes and they'll normally bring it up to you because they have nothing else to talk about besides their boundary pushing, thoughts on things. And normally those aren't too boundary pushing. It's either, I really think that we just need to allow, everybody the chance to develop how everybody else has, and I really think that everybody is going to make the exact same advancements that everybody else has because everybody is the same. And then the other side is just, I really think that, we should just do everything legally. I'm fine with anybody as long as they don't break the law. The law is definitely the most stand steadfast thing in our lives. It has nothing to do with corporate lobbying or any kind of outside influence. It's completely decided by our benevolent leaders in Washington, who I also call the spawn of hell and, condemn and pray to God that they will burn in a lake of shit for their entire lives. But, I think also God is doing his best to, make sure the laws are kept the same. And you either one of those, most people are, conceited enough that they think that they're bringing a new opinion to the table. Like you haven't heard this thousands of times before from everybody else in your life. But yeah, you should be able to figure out pretty quickly with people what you shouldn't bring up. But whatever that is, have your conversations, talk to people. I'm not saying don't do that. You'll probably go crazy if you don't, but just, you can, the freeing thing about realizing that it's all pointless is then you can just be as pointless and annoying as they are. Like they can start a political argument and then you can be like, hey, yeah, but you know what? I saw this picture on Twitter and it was really funny. It made me giggle. Did you know that it takes 17 different stitches to make a quarter of a football? That's amazing. I saw that on Twitter too. Oh, guess what? I saw this movie and there was this one scene that then people took and they make all these memes about on the internet. Blah, blah, blah. You can do that to people. You can just, and that's a good feeling, especially as when I was a kid where I would get stuck. Especially with old people. Old people are the biggest they're not the only people who do it by far, but they are the biggest problem with this, where they just, because they've lived for so long, the fact that they can talk to you for an hour about literally nothing, they'll just be like, oh, so what's with the internet? How does that work? And then you try to explain it and they never really grasp too much of it. They just do what you do whenever somebody else is talking to you about something you don't want to hear about, but you kind of need to show interest because you're not really sure how to relate to them anymore. But there's the sense of time and urgency is gone with older people. So there's yeah, no, I'll talk to you for several hours and be like, well, don't you want to stay for dinner then too? That's family. I did landscaping for 4 or 5 years, and it was very rarely a person under the age of 50 would stop me while I was trying to cut their grass, which I do every single week and have done for years, and then try to have an hour-long conversation with me about how the grass is growing. Not their grass, just in general, the weather. They'll do that quite a bit. They're lonely. That's a lot of people, but younger people are normally still disgusted with themselves at that point for being lonely, so they kind of keep it bottled up. That is another point that I do want to make. I did do a few notes this week because nothing really happened, but I had a strange encounter, and that led to certain things being revealed to me and being told to me, and I'm getting tired of people dumping their stupid secrets on me. Because, again, it seems like throughout my life, maybe this happens to everybody, but I seem to attract the people that will, they almost can't wait to just blab out what they think is some dark secret, but it's more just an annoyance to me then, because I'm like, well, you're not interesting, and I'm not particularly interesting either, so what am I supposed to talk about with other people if I ever bring you up, instead of just yep, no, I hung out with Chris over here the other day. A lot of fun that was. We sat and watched TV, and then, yep, we eventually went out and got some food. It was crazy. Yep, it was real great. No, I want to be able to tell you that Chris fucked his cousin when he was drunk, and now he feels really bad about it because fuck Chris. That's a dumb, again, I don't really care. I've never really, outside of actually having a child that, you're taking the risk of it being cataclysmically retarded. I'm whatever. I don't care. You can fuck your cousin. You can fuck your siblings. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be shocked. And this is why I'll tell myself I wouldn't be shocked to figure out something about somebody I knew, and then I'll be like, no, you're probably lying. You're probably just like, oh, I don't care. I'm super into but then people tell me these things and I'm just like, yeah, that figures. That makes sense. But why didn't you just keep it to yourself? Why, like, if you fuck your cousin, keep the shit to yourself. You don't need to tell anybody. Just suffer with that for your entire life. People used to do that. People murdered people when they were in their 20s, and then they maybe brought it up on their deathbed. They didn't go through their entire life like, hey, like every time they got drunk, just like, I need to tell somebody what I did because it's really just eating at me down here. I just need to get the secret out. Keep a secret. Jesus Christ. I do. I have to whenever all these people give me this dumb shit that I don't want to know. And then they're like, can you not tell anybody else? I'm like, why did you tell me? There's like, this isn't horrifying. This doesn't make you more interesting to me. This just makes me sad, and I want to make other people sad because that's all that makes me happy. But no, I can't do that. You leave me with this perpetual sadness now because I can't exercise that. Like a demon, maybe. I don't know. Well, never mind. I'm too focused on pronunciation now because I'm still doing the recording for one of those short stories. I'm getting to the end now. I'm just starting section 12. There's 14. I think I'm just under an hour now. I might have said that a couple weeks ago, so I might be over. I haven't really checked. But yeah, if you have secrets that you don't just first off, I'm probably one of the only people that aren't going to at least tell somebody. So maybe go on Twitter and DM me your secrets because I'll feel less bad about exposing you online if I don't know you. But yeah, in personal life, I don't know, like, I've had plenty of other people go, yeah, you know what this guy told me? They told me not to tell anybody, blah, blah, what she told me, and then she went, don't tell anybody. And most people just, like, as soon as you tell somebody that, especially if you make the caveat of this shouldn't leave the room, or I would hope that you wouldn't tell anybody else, that person is immediately telling somebody else, regardless. Since I've been alive, I've never understood the whole, like, oh, women gossip more, men are more, whatever, violent. If you're gonna argue for an equality in the sexes, do it only in our shitty points, because that is all since I've grown up, I've never seen a prevalence for violence in men over what I've seen from women. Same thing with gossiping. I've seen just as much out of either genders of both of those things. I've seen just as many women fight a department store clerk, or not a department, again, it's not a department store, it's a fucking ghetto, marketplace, or ghetto grocery store, as much as I've seen men do that. And then I've also had to listen to just as many men go, oh, guess what I just heard? Let me tell you exactly what I just heard, because this is interesting, because this other person doesn't want you to know it. Just as many men as women. It's never been a difference for me. I've never met a man that was like, I've never even had an instance where I could have that kind of pride in myself as a man of being like, yeah, well, at least we don't gossip, because then 5 minutes later, some other retard guy is telling me something about like, oh, well, did you know that? I don't care. Anyway, I think that connected something to later about the equality of sexes, but I'm not really sure. Again, just don't. You have secrets, and I guess this tied in a little bit back where I was like, you should be able to figure out what you can bring up with people. Because your thoughts sometimes could be secrets. I'm talking specifically now about stuff that you've done, and then you're like, I need to tell people. Just tell yourself it was a dream. Just do what every single other person in history has ever done, where you just push that to the back of your mind and you just shovel shit over top of it and you let it fester like a good Christian, and then something happens later in your life and it makes your life interesting. You don't tell the first person, because I can't just be me. There's no way people are just telling me things unless I really am that pathetic and they're like, this fucker doesn't have any friends that he can tell people. You don't need to do that. You can just I very much doubt anybody listening to this, or really anybody who has a computer, is really doing anything that heinous that they need to tell anybody, Or they're at the point where they're doing it so heinously that if they tell anybody, that person will report them immediately to the police. So I also then can't advise you do that. But I don't know. I'm probably harping on this a little bit too much. Besides that, I don't know. The only other note I wrote was weed is bad. Okay. I'm not really sure if that had any kind of like topical I'm not sure if I recently read something. I was just like, there seems like there's more and more of a push where, it's not more and more. This has been the kind of tactic for getting legal weed since the 90s, where you just go, no, it's medicine. It's fine. It makes people eat food when you have cancer. And it's like, okay. What does that have to do with your depression? I don't think that the depression is, if you're still diagnosed as depressed, I'd say 3 years after beginning treatment of something, or regardless of what that is, I wouldn't call that a success. But again, whatever. I'm not saying I don't self-medicate with marijuana. I definitely do. But again, I can't see this. It's not a thing to be celebrated. I think I mentioned before, there's like the mayor of Pittsburgh or maybe Pennsylvania is tweeting about legal weed and blah, blah, blah. And the only reason why anybody cares, why this is being pushed now is because of tax money, because we saw how much Colorado made, and every lawmaker and every bureaucrat who can get a little bit of that is jizzing themselves uncontrollably now at the thoughts of all those millions of dollars. But yeah, just don't, if you haven't tried weed, or if you have and you don't regularly, I'd say just don't ever do it more than once a month. Even maybe this is an old thing from, I think, Carl Sagan, where he was do it very sparingly, but in very, very high amounts, so that you get almost a soft, or it's not very soft because I've had that before, but you get a straight up psychedelic experience. And also that keeps you from falling into the habitation where you're well, this just kind of calms me down. This levels the world out. This kind of gets control. You don't want the weed to become something where you use it to control stuff. You want it to be something that makes you kind of lose your shit for an hour or 2 hours. Edibles, again, are probably not the best. They could help. You could take a little bit of an edible and then smoke some, and then smoke a lot, but the edible is also going to make it kick in for longer. Cause I think the good part about the smoking weed, about never doing it and smoking a lot of it, or maybe even doing concentrates, would be that it gives you that powerful psychedelic trip where, whether it's introspective or you need recharge, not recharge your batteries, but kind of reset things from your day-to-day life. And it's only going to last for an hour, 2 hours. It's not going to be an acid trip or a mushroom trip where it's multiple hours of possibly losing your shit. It may be more controllable, hopefully a little bit more sedating also than acid, depending on what you're smoking. But again, the worst panic attack I've ever had in my life was on concentrates, on weed concentrates after not smoking for a while. That was much worse than anything else I've ever experienced. So yeah, just be careful with that. Especially when it starts being legal like this, bars are gonna pop up. People are gonna kind of start frequenting this stuff. We're already kind of moving away from alcohol. No, we're not moving away from alcohol, actually. We're just including it with other things. Alcohol, weed, Xanax, anything kind of really to depress the situation is what we're looking for most of the time. It's a fun time. We can do coke now. We're going to be awake for once while we go out and try to fuck strangers. This would be great. But yeah, just be careful with that stuff. Don't watch out for habitation and anything in your life. And if you're going to have some kind of habitation, and the more you can control that and the more you can put that in a way that is conducive and I don't know, strengthening to you, or positive, it can something that will help make you achieve something better or whatever that is, the better. Like, the better habits you can make, it's not really an argument at this point. The better habits you can make, the better you're more likely to do. And even if it's not a success thing, the more happy you'd be. We aren't that far from dogs where we do, like, if you look at somebody, and this is another complaint I have with most people, and they just buy a dog, they don't really train it, they just keep it there, and it's like, oh, he's fuzzy, and he's so cute when he rips up the fucking pillows, and he eats all the food, and he shits everywhere. He's so cute. Dogs are, the dog ripping apart the pillows and scratching through everything, and barking and jumping at people, and stealing food isn't really happy. The dog's acting out because he doesn't know what else to do. If you give a dog discipline, if you give a person discipline, if you give yourself discipline, because that's like the most fulfilling thing I would say. I don't do it very well, but whenever I can have like I did good today, that's a good feeling. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel better than just like what you have been, if you can like discipline yourself. And that's, I would say, the best place is the best and the most useful, like the thing that you're the least likely to try to weasel out of is if you can impose and rein your own self in versus it being done by somebody else. But I mean, there's the whole market of dietitians and personal trainers, and I mean, you get into the people with more money, they have people that walk around, follow their kids around so they don't OD. So, I mean, discipline is it's a commodity, I guess. Like, it is something that people will pay for, but, so, I mean, if you can pay for it, do it, sure. But it's gonna be a lot cheaper. You can do that yourself. So, I don't know, I guess I'll leave with that. Yeah, don't tell anybody secrets, and only smoke weed once a week, or smoke weed every day. Never stop. Never come out of that haze, and that way you won't ever remember any secrets anybody tells you, and you'll be fine. No. Thanks for listening. Again, get me on Twitter at BakersDozen93. I really don't talk to people on there, so if you come and you go, hey, everything you said in this podcast was dumb, I'll probably just ignore it, but I might respond and be like, yes, it was. You're right. Can you please come kill me now? But yeah, I'll see you next week. I'm going to finish up with this, and I guess I'll do some writing. Bye.